Breaking news! The Baltimore Ravens are making some moves behind the scenes that could shape the landscape of their offensive line depth ahead of the upcoming NFL draft. While many fans assumed that Eric DeCosta and the front office would sit idle with the draft approaching, the team has shown, once again, that they are never really idle when there is a chance to improve. Don't worry, I'll tell you everything I know so far. But before I go any further, make sure you've hit the like button if you agree that the Baltimore Ravens will make it to Super Bowl 60. Man, I really believe this. If possible, comment something like, "Go Ravens! Let's go to the Super Bowl!" Now for the news. The latest name linked to Baltimore? Veteran offensive tackle George Fant. A seasoned lineman with 75 career starts, Fant represents exactly the kind of insurance policy the Ravens love to hide: versatile, experienced, and, perhaps most importantly, recently released. Meaning he wouldn't count toward the compensatory pick formula. And we all know how much the Ravens love their compensatory picks. They hoard them like gold. Fant, who spoke to NFL insider Joseph Person, is not only on the Ravens' radar, but has reportedly met with team officials about a potential deal. While he hasn't signed yet, the interest is real, and the logic behind it screams Ravens logic. Get ready so you don't have to get ready. Fant fits the mold. He's played both tackle positions, making him a prime candidate for the swing tackle role Baltimore is currently looking to fill. Last season, injuries limited him to just 2 games, and he was recently waived by the Seahawks. That detail is crucial because, again, it means the Ravens can bring him in without compromising those all-important compensatory picks. Classic Ravens. But here's where it gets tricky. Fant is also considering the Tennessee Titans, and his connection to Nashville, where he lives, might tip the scales. Ravens fans have seen this story before. Calais Campbell, once a Raven, turned down a return to Baltimore to play for the Cardinals, wanting to be closer to home. Jadeveon Clowney, who had a strong stint with the Ravens, ended up with the Panthers, again due to location and family ties. Bobby Wagner, too, opted for the Rams over Baltimore because he's from Los Angeles. For many NFL players, especially veterans, playing closer to home can outweigh championship aspirations. So while Baltimore has a compelling pitch as a contender, the pull of home can't be underestimated. And if Fant does choose Tennessee, it won't be a surprise to anyone who's been paying attention to how these things go. But if the Ravens can seal the deal, they'd be landing a plug-and-play depth piece at a position of need without losing a draft pick. That's a win-win in DeCosta's book. Meanwhile, there's been plenty of chatter among the Ravens fan base about money freed up after parting ways with safety Marcus Williams. There's a bit of confusion surrounding it, but here's the breakdown. When his contract was restructured late last season, the team gained about $9 million. With his recent release, they added a few more million in cap space. That money could potentially go toward a deal like Fant's or be saved for a splash move post-draft. And while we're talking about the future, Ravens fans are speculating on who could one day replace John Harbaugh at the helm. One name floated was Zach Orr, currently on staff. And while it's not out of the realm of possibility, Harbaugh's long-standing connection with the organization and leadership makes it hard to envision a near-term change. Or might find a head coaching gig elsewhere first, similar to the career paths of other Ravens assistants like Mike McDonald or Todd Monken. Speaking of speculation and fun hypotheticals, one fan posed a GM challenge: trade a player, cut a player, sign a free agent, and make the first draft pick. The trade suggestion? David Ohabo. Not because of lack of talent, but rather to give him a fresh start elsewhere. The proposed cut? Jalen Armour Davis, mostly due to injuries limiting his availability. As for the free agent to sign, why not go big? Keenan Allen was floated, with the idea being to overload the wide receiver room with talent. Imagine stacking up a receiver core so deep that defenses wouldn't know who to cover. And the draft pick? A defensive tackle like Rook or Herrero, someone who could provide interior pressure and elevate the defense from day one. Fans are also buzzing about the development of second-year players. The spotlight is on cornerback Nate Wiggins, who looks to step into a full-time starting role this season. Last year, like most first-round corners in Baltimore, Wiggins was brought along slowly, worked into the rotation. But that ramp-up phase is over. This year, he's expected to take on the top outside duties from the jump. And there's excitement brewing about Adisa Isaac too. Though limited last year by injuries and depth at the position, he showed flashes in college and could get more reps this time around. But not all the fan excitement is about the roster. Some are still navigating fandom dynamics. One fan confessed he's a diehard Ravens supporter but can't help admiring Justin Jefferson, even debating whether to buy his jersey. His reasoning? While he respects Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, Jefferson and Jamar Chase are simply in a tier of their own. And honestly, can anyone really argue? It sparked a broader discussion about how being a fan doesn't mean you can't appreciate greatness elsewhere. Buy the jersey, rep your favorite players, and still bleed purple and black. It's all love. Finally, there was a question about possibly signing J.C. Jackson, the cornerback who once picked off passes like they were falling from the sky during his time in New England. Things didn't work out with the Chargers or in his second stint with the Patriots, but for the Ravens, he could represent a low-risk, high-reward addition. With the market being what it is pre-draft, there's little harm in exploring options like Jackson, provided they don't rely on him to be the guy. The Baltimore Ravens are in a delicate phase, retooling, recalibrating, and still very much contenders. They're threading the needle between maximizing this window and planning for the long haul. Moves like potentially signing George Fant or taking a flyer on J.C. Jackson speak to the careful strategy at play. Now we turn it over to you. Ravens flock, what do you think? Should the team pull the trigger on Fant? Is J.C. Jackson worth a shot? And which second-year player are you most hyped to see take the next step? Let us know in the comments. We'll be watching. Let's talk a little more about this George Fant situation because it's not just about adding another body to the offensive line. It's about calculated depth and insurance. The Ravens' offensive line situation has seen its share of shuffling in recent seasons, and if there's one thing we've learned, it's that injuries can derail momentum fast. Signing a guy like Fant, even on a short-term, incentive-based deal, gives the Ravens some flexibility. Remember, this team has aspirations beyond just making the playoffs. They're trying to get over that AFC championship hump. And having depth in the trenches, especially at tackle, can be the difference between finishing strong or watching your season unravel because of a couple of rolled ankles in December. Fant isn't a flashy signing, but Ravens fans know that some of the most important moves happen when no one's watching. This is about roster integrity. With his ability to swing between both tackle spots, Fant could be that bridge guy, allowing younger players more time to develop and ensuring the offensive line doesn't collapse under pressure like we've seen happen to other playoff teams with poor depth. It's moves like this that win you games in November and December. Now pivoting to another under-the-radar talking point, J.C. Jackson. The name alone brings a flood of memories from his peak in New England, where he was a true ball hawk. But after a disappointing stint with the Chargers, followed by an anticlimactic return to Foxborough, the luster has worn off for many. However, we've seen this movie before, players written off, only to bounce back in a system that knows how to unlock their strengths. Could that be Baltimore? Maybe. And then there's the draft. Ravens fans seem to have a growing consensus around addressing the defensive line, especially the interior. The name that keeps coming up? Rookie, a beast inside, the kind of guy who brings consistent interior pressure and helps collapse the pocket from within. That's been a missing element since the days of Haloti Ngata. Or wouldn't just be a solid pick, he'd be foundational. The type of guy who makes everyone else's job easier by taking on double teams and still pushing the pocket. So, with the draft around the corner, the Ravens are sitting in a fascinating spot. They're contenders, but still building. They're aggressive, but patient. They're exploring veterans, while betting on youth. And that balance is why this team is always in the mix. Alright, Ravens flock, your turn. If it came down to it, would you sign George Fant or take a shot on J.C. Jackson? Is it finally time to move on from Ohabo or Armour Davis? And which free agent would you want to see Baltimore take a gamble on before the draft? Let's get that conversation going. Drop your takes in the comments and let's keep it rolling.